Hey guys, so in this video I'm not going to talk about code at all. I'm instead going to talk a bit about learning in general and how to make your experience of university much less stressful, much less painful, and much more effective. So this is something I learnt over, my 10 years of studying design. And so it's something that I want to, I guess, share with you. It's something that I have to offer that's, I guess, ancillary to what we're learning with code in 142. So I have 3 tips to give you today. And the first tip is to be easy on yourself. You don't have to be a master of everything. I failed several papers while I was studying. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It doesn't mean you should give things up and just say, oh, well, okay, well, Ben says, I'm okay to not be good at everything, therefore I'm just going to give this paper up and this paper up because I don't like them. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you just try everything, put in an honest effort using the 2 following tips that I'm about to give you, if you still, don't end up amazing, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe you just need to work at it over a longer period of time, or even maybe after you've given it an honest effort, you can just be like, yeah, okay, it's not my thing. I gave it a shot, but it's not my thing. Make sure you finish everything you start. It's the most important piece of advice I could possibly give. Make sure you finish everything you start. So don't really try hard not to drop out of things and stop halfway through. Once you've made a decision to do something, follow it through to the end, no matter how hard that is. But don't be hard on yourself when you fail. When you fall down, when you make a terrible project, don't be hard on yourself. So I like to talk a bit about sometimes a project that if you did 132 last year, you will have heard me tell this story before. So I apologize. But in my 4th year of uni, so this is not my 4th year of uni, my 4th year of design. So I started in software engineering. So this is probably my 5th or 6th year of uni. Because design used to be a 4-year degree back then. It was my final year, my honours year. And I had a paper with, one of the lecturers I admired the most in the world, this guy, just an absolute genius, really modest, really just a really good lecturer. I, really respected him. But I always did the worst projects in his classes. One in particular, it was a special effects class. And I, you'll have noticed that video doesn't come naturally to me. And we had a project where we had to do a special effect. We had to record our face, and then we had to apply some special effect using post-production techniques. And I was like, it'd be cool. Like I'll make it so that my face is getting really old, and then like the skin's flaking off to reveal rust underneath. Like flaking off like paint, old paint on an iron surface that's rusting, and anyway, I did so badly in that project. It in the end it just looked like I had poo on my face, and I was so humiliated. I couldn't even bear to be in the room during the presentations. Like when I could see mine was coming up in the list of videos that they were playing, I kind of had to run away to the bathroom because I was just so embarrassed at this terrible project. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's normal to just utterly fail horrendously. In fact, if you're not failing horrendously, then you should kind of be a bit worried. Actually, maybe you're not taking enough risks. Anyway, so don't worry if you're not like awesome at everything. I'm certainly not awesome at everything, and nobody is. So if, for example, you're giving an honest effort in creative coding are still getting terrible grades, don't worry, I don't judge you. None of your tutors judge you. It's fine. So be easy on yourself, because we aren't being hard on you, so don't be hard on yourself. And that will make life in general a lot easier if you're a lot easier on yourself. Just relax. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Okay, so that's that. First tip is be easy on yourself. The second tip and the third tip combined together are the most important things, the most important ways on avoiding stress and enjoying your work. So the second tip is to don't work harder, work softer. So what do I mean by this? Don't work harder, work softer. So when I say work softer, what I mean is work gently, work consistently over a long period of time. Put in small amounts of effort over a long period of time, rather than putting in huge amounts of effort in a very short period of time just before your projects are due. So if you, for example, were to want to get ripped, right? You want to get ripped. So you're like, I'm going to go to the gym. You don't just go and bench press 150 kgs on your first day, because you're going to break your arms. You're not going to be able to do it again. You're going to think that weightlifting is the most horrendous thing. Well, I don't know. I'm not a weightlifter, but anyway, you're gonna think it's the most horrendous, painful, uncomfortable, unhappy experience. So you're probably never going to do it again. You're not going to get ripped. However, if you were to go and just do, I don't know, 30 reps of 5 kg dumbbells, and then every couple of days for a week, and then slowly work yourself up over a long period of time. Every 2 days, you just go every 2 days and you do 30 reps of some small amount of weight. Then eventually you're going to be really buff, and you're going to easily be able to bench press 150 kgs or whatever. So the point is, with learning, this concept is just as important. Just as important. You're going to learn a lot more, and you're not going to forget things if you put in small amounts of effort every single day, rather than large amounts of effort at the end of each project. Think of it this way. If you put half an hour a day, every single day, into, for example, creative coding, you're like, okay, I'm just going to work for half an hour. Half an hour is not much to ask, is it? Really? Like, you sit down, play with a few colors, make a few changes here and there, and boom, half an hour's gone. Not a big ask. But if you do half an hour a day for 7 days, that's 210 minutes, which is what's that in hours? That's 3.5 hours in a week. Okay, contrast that to doing that 3.5 hours, let's say your project's 4 weeks, and let's contrast that 3.5 hours that you did by doing half an hour a day with, your project was 4 weeks, so 4 times 3.5 is 14 hours. Now contrast that to the experience of doing 14 hours in one session, or maybe 2 sessions, an all-nighter and so forth. The difference is huge. So there are several differences. First is, if you do all of those hours, all of that time in one block, you're going to hate every moment of it. It's going to feel like grating your face with a cheese grater. It's just the most unpleasant, painful experience, because you're just trying to squeeze out some design turd to fulfill a brief, to get a grade, to go on and do another design, turd to get a grade, and so on and so forth. It's just this unpleasant, tight, unhappy, painful process. Whereas if you do half an hour a day, you can just sit down and you can kind of play around, mess around a bit for half an hour, and then, I don't know, go have a coffee, go do something you enjoy, something you something else you enjoy, or another project, go have a break for half an hour, then do another project for half an hour in the day, and so on and so forth. If you do, for example, if you're doing 4 papers, which I find highly unlikely, most people do 3, but even if you are doing 4, imagine, okay, you dedicate half an hour a day to each of those 4 papers. That's only 2 hours in the day. Combine that with maybe, I don't know, you've got a lab that day, so that's another 2 hours, that's 4 hours, and maybe you've got a lecture, so maybe that's 5 hours in a day. Well, a 5-hour day isn't that long, and you can break it up with a big, nice, long lunch break, and, I don't know, go for a walk, or play a computer game, or I don't know, whatever it is that you like, broken up and interspersed. And actually, you're only working for half an hour blocks at a time, apart from when you're actually in classes. If you do that every single day, your projects are going to be so much better than if you do that same amount of time at the end of the project, because you're doing it with a much lighter mind. You're also learning a lot more effectively because you won't forget it, because you've been constantly reinforcing the ideas over a long period of time rather than trying to cram them all in at once. So do small amounts of work over a long period of time rather than large amounts of work over a short period of time, which is what I mean by work softer, not harder. The final tip is to break all of your... so before I get into it, the biggest obstacle to working consistently is kind of getting to roadblocks. So you'll know what I mean. It's like you kind of get to a point in your project where you're like, I don't know what to do next. I'm stuck. I can't do it. It's too big a task, too big a challenge. I'll go do something else. I'll go, I don't know, drink away my sorrows, whatever. The antidote to this is to break the task down into smaller chunks. So imagine you've got like a 2-story office. Let's say you're working in a company that has a 2-story office. Except there's a problem. The second story, there's no stairwell to it. It's just a hole in the roof, right? And your boss says to you, hey, by next Thursday, I need you to go up to the second story and grab the thing that we need to do the stuff, right? And you're like, yeah, no problem. And you wander up to the hole and you're like, there's nothing. How do I get up there? Too big a task. I'll do that later because I've got 4 other projects which are due in between now and Thursday. So I'll just do those and I'll come to this later, right? Well, the problem of that approach is come Wednesday night afternoon, you're like, oh no, I've got to get the thing, otherwise I'm going to get fired for the thing, and you get really stressed and tight, and so you go and you run around the office and you build some rickety structure of chairs and tables, and you start climbing up, and then halfway up it all collapses and you break both of your legs and lose your job. Anyway, that's very dramatic. I know I'm exaggerating, but the point is, had you just gone, the week before, so you were given the task the previous Thursday, had you just gone the week before and instead been like, okay, so I've got to get up there, I can't do that today, I've got 4 other tasks due in between now and then, but what I can do today is do a little, like I was saying before, do a little bit today. I can work consistently over this week to build a beautiful set of stairs which I can use constantly in the future to make this job easier, and I can do a really good job of it. The boss will be very pleased. It will be a good, well designed outcome. But I can't do it all today. I want to build a stairwell, and that's a big task. So what do? You're like, but what I can do today is I can measure it up. So on the first day you measure it. Right, and then the second day you're like, okay, what's the next step? Well, the next step is to go buy some wood. So you go buy some wood, small task. Third day you're like, okay, well the next task is to build a frame And so you build the frame. Maybe you get halfway through. Maybe you split that task over 2 days, right? You build the frame, and then the next task is kind of like reinforcing it and adding some cladding around the frame. And then the next task is to finish the cladding, and then the final task is to put on the carpet. And then on Wednesday night, all you've got to do is comfortably and happily show your boss the amazing stairwell you built and be like, oh yeah, and then you wander up, grab the thing you need, and give it to him and be like, oh, here's that thing you need as well as this amazing job I did building us a stairwell to get up there. So you can see that by breaking the task down into bite-sized, really small achievable chunks is what enables us to work consistently throughout the project. What would that look like in terms of coding, creative coding? Okay, you've got to make an animated GIF, right? And maybe you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck. Well, the first thing to do would be like, well, I've got to make an animated GIF, so that's got to look like something. So I have to draw something. Well, what can I draw? I can draw a circle or an ellipse or a rectangle, so on and so forth. So you draw something. And maybe that's just all you do one day. Maybe you spend 20 minutes trying to work out how to draw something on the screen. And then the following day you're like, okay, now it's an animated GIF, so I need to get it to move or grow or whatever. So maybe you're like, oh, I want it to grow like this. And so you kind of maybe look through the old tutorials and find out the one where it explained how to grow things, variables and animation. And you kind of go through that and you implement that and you're like, oh yeah, I've got it moving. And then you're like, okay, now I've got to get it looping. How do I do that? And so maybe you look at, like, I don't know, using the sine function to get it to wave back and, to get it to go back and forth nicely. Or maybe you use if statements to say if it gets here, then start going back, and so on and so forth. So maybe that's your job for one day, is to get it to loop. And then maybe you're like, yeah, but it kind of looks boring and simple. What happens if I copy paste this and make 20 of them all doing the same thing slightly differently? Oh wow, that looks good. That's one day. Then you're like, but it still looks pants. What if I change the color? Then you change the color, right? You maybe one day you just try 20 different color schemes and pick the best. And then the next day you're playing with transparency, and that's great. Then the next day you are maybe starting from scratch and being like, oh, I had this other idea, and because I've done this entire thing already, I can really quickly actually start building up my other idea. Right? You've got some momentum by then. You've got the ball rolling, and so forth. If you work like this, if you break your task down into really small chunks and work consistently in small allotments of time, even if that starts off at 5 minutes, you promise yourself to work on it 5 minutes a day, you'll quickly find that you get momentum, and that time just naturally starts expanding and growing. You say, okay, I promise I'm going to work for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, you're kind of in the zone, and you end up working for an hour and a half without even like it being a thing, just because you've got the ball rolling, you've got momentum. If you follow these tips, be easy on yourself, work in small amounts consistently, and learn the kung fu of breaking down complex tasks into small bite-sized chunks, you'll find that you enjoy your work a lot more. You'll find that your work vastly improves, and you'll find you learn a lot quicker and more effectively, and again you'll just be a lot happier, right? I mean, that's the main thing. That's all we really want. That's why we're studying design, isn't it? To I don't know, maybe to get a good job so that things are comfortable and whatnot. Maybe because we just want to be happy. But if we are really unhappy doing design because we're always putting in massive chunks of hard pushing graspy effort at the last minute, then we're just kind of ruining our whole goal to just be free and happy anyway. So that's my advice for the day. Thanks for listening for so long. If you have got got to the end of the video. I hope you found that useful. If you didn't, that's okay. This is kind of a bonus video anyway. Cool, thank you.